Hi, I'm Barry. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I promise you, you will not regret it. I have so many quality videos lined up for the near future. I promise you're not going to want to miss it. Without further ado, let's begin. Detroit versus Chicago. The Lions jumped up early on the Bears, and it looked like the game was going to be over late in the first half with the Lions up 16-0, but they fumbled the ball just like the odds makers wanted them to, which gave the Bears new life. Eventually, the Bears started to get going, cutting it to 16-7, but the Lions responded right back with a touchdown of their own. Take that with your stuffing. For the Bears once again responded with another Caleb Williams touchdown pass early in the fourth quarter, but somebody left the window open, which caused this field goal to go wide left, which led to an impressive touchdown pass by Caleb Williams, his third of the day. Surely nothing could ruin this performance for Caleb Williams, right? Well, you're wrong, pal. Needing just a field goal with a timeout, the Bears just let the clock wind down and the game ended with an incomplete pass, and that was it. So yeah, if you're Matt Eberflus, he was pretty much fired at that moment. Cowboys versus Giants. In a meaningless game between Cooper Rush and Drew Lock. Oh my god, please. I can't take any more. My nipples are hard enough. The game pretty much ended being as bad as you would think. Drew Lock threw a terrible pick six. The teams exchanged some field goals and some fumbles and some touchdowns, and Cowboys eventually took a 17-point lead. And then the Giants scored a couple garbage time touchdowns, which made the game seem a little bit closer than it actually was. It led to a nondescript 7-point win for the Cowboys. I am not thankful for this game, folks. Green Bay versus Miami. Miami was at a distinct disadvantage right away because Dolphins don't live in Green Bay, you silly goose. And the Packers made sure to remind everybody of that from the very beginning. They jumped out to an early double-digit lead, and then an 18-point lead, and then a 21-point lead, and then a 24-point lead before the Dolphins finally answered back, making it a 16-point game. But the Packers said, oh, you like 16 points? Well, suck my dick. I'm going to kick a field goal to make it 19 points. And then the Dolphins scored another touchdown. And that was really it. There was really no heart-pounding huge moments in this game. The Packers improved to 9-3, while the Dolphins look just as bad as they always have when Tua Tagovailoa is under center in cold weather games. But at least Matt LaFleur is still handsome, right? Kansas City versus Las Vegas. It was a Black Friday showdown, which is completely racist. I don't know why race has anything to do with it. It should just be called African American Friday, to be politically correct. But either way, this game was going the same way all the Chiefs games have this year. The Chiefs looked like crap, yet they were still up by 13 points. And then Brock Twin Towers Bowers scored a touchdown to make it a 6-point game. DeAndre Hopkins dropped a great pass. And then Aiden O'Connell was throwing dimes in the fourth quarter, give the Raiders a lead that every single person and their mama knew wasn't going to last. But although the Chiefs did take the lead once again on a field goal, the Raiders came painstakingly close to taking the lead back. Again, missing a 58-yard field goal, getting the ball back, and then, like the Chicago game before them, the game ended on a somewhat anticlimactic note with the center snapping the ball but before the quarterback was ready, which was recovered by the Chiefs, and that ended the game, even though the Raiders were in field goal range to possibly win the game. Look, I'm not going to deny that this was a lucky game and that Mahomes has gotten lucky at times this year, but for the love of God, do not ever say that he's luckier than Tom Brady. The Chargers versus the Southern Chargers, or the Falcons. This game had everything. It had missed field goals, it had fumbles, it had touchdown runs, it had field goals, it had interceptions. Kirk Cousins had his worst game by far as a Falcon, but despite Cousins throwing 4 interceptions on the day, the Chargers were still behind for most of the game until one of Kirk's interceptions resulted in a pick six, which gave the Chargers a lead, 17-10 at the end of the third quarter. Falcons cut that lead, and the Falcons had the ball inside the Chargers 15 down 4, and they threw an interception, and then they threw another interception later in the fourth quarter with under a minute left to end the game. A completely terrible and unexciting game that ended really the only way we expected it to, with both teams competing to see who can screw up less, and that was the Chargers. Congratulations, Chargers fans, and all 25 of your fans. Seattle versus the Jets. This game really did look like it was going to be a throwback for Aaron Rodgers. He threw 2 touchdowns early, but this is the Jets, and whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I mean, this is one of the most wildly disappointing seasons. Aaron Rodgers threw a terrible pick six, which really turned the momentum around of the entire game. Instead of going up by 21, the Seahawks cut it to a 1-score game. It really is sad to see how Aaron Rodgers' career has unfolded. Some of it is his own doing, but most of it is just a guy that I thought was going to win multiple Super Bowls, and instead he really will be remembered as kind of nothing but a weirdo. Yes, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, and for most people that's something that they'll be most known for, or a Super Bowl champion like Rodgers is, or a Super Bowl MVP like Rodgers is, and yet that's not what he'll be most remembered for. And it's just kind of sad, just like the Jets in this game losing to fall to 3-9. Vikings versus Cardinals. You like field goals, bitch? Well, here you go. Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. No, Field goal, yes! Finally, late in the third quarter, there was an actual touchdown. Is this a Steelers game in disguise? Come on now. Cardinals were up by 13 late in the third, and it seemed like the game was all out of hand for Sam Darnold and the Jets. I mean, the Vikings. But like Mono, Darnold refused to go away. Murray threw an interception. The Vikings take the field goal to make it a 3-point game. The Cardinals then make another field goal to make it a 6-point game again with 3 minutes left, and that's when Sam Darnold went to work on his game-winning drive, throwing the passes downfield, zoom with his big arm. God, we love the big, strong football boys, don't we? And he found Aaron Jones, who likes to wear a sombrero all the time for some weird reason. And then the game ended with Kyler Murray throwing another interception. Never bet on post-October Kyler Murray. Just don't do it. Indianapolis versus New England. 20 years ago, this was the cream of the crop when it came to rivalries, and now it's just meaningless. Although, for what it's worth, this was a pretty entertaining game. There were interceptions and field goals and touchdowns, and, well, there was tackling, and there was touchdowns, and there was a missed field goal. I just loved the guy's reaction to this. He's like, darn it, I missed! And then the Colts came and rubbed it in by kicking a field goal of similar distance, and then Drake May threw an interception at the goal line, which was not really his fault, but the stat sheet doesn't care. The Patriots ran in to go up by 7 with 8:43 left. Anthony Richardson threw an interception, and the game seemed like it was going to be for the Patriots, but the Colts defense held firm, and Richardson led a heroic touchdown drive and a 2-point conversion to go up by 1. The game came down to a field goal, and it came up short, which is really just the least manly way to miss a field goal. If you miss it wide left or wide right, that's one thing, but missing it because you don't have enough leg strength to get it there, you hand over your man card. Steelers versus Bengals. I give up. I said this on Twitter. I said I give up because the Steelers are the most predictable team that I've ever seen. They do just enough to win games so unimpressively that you still can't support them even when their record is like 9-3 or something, and that's exactly what we have here. This feels like the 4th or 5th time I've done the same game for the Bengals this year. They're at home, their defense plays like dog crap, but their offense does really well, and Joe Burrow scores some touchdowns. Although in this game, Burrow did have 3 turnovers, so he wasn't completely faultless the way that his apologists make him out to be. Anyway, so the Steelers kicked a couple field goals, and then they scored a touchdown. Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards. Can you believe there were some people who said that Justin Fields should be starting over him? That's so embarrassing. Anyway, the Steelers needed every single point that they got, including from their defense on a fumble return to make it a 17-point game with 11 minutes left. But Joe Burrow said, it's stat padding time, bitch. And in that time, he threw 2 touchdowns, and the game came down to, you guessed it, an onside kick with about 2.5 minutes left that was recovered by the Steelers. They eventually ran out the clock to drop the Bengals to 4-8 and improve to 9-3. I swear to God, if this team wins the fucking Super Bowl, I will eat my own face on camera. Houston versus Jacksonville. A pretty nondescript and boring game, which is typical of the AFC South. The only thing that came out of this was Trevor Lawrence getting the absolute shit kicked out of him on a dirty hit that forced him to leave the game early and also caused the Jaguars to rely on Mac Jones, which, as we know, is not a suitable formula for success. Either way, the Texans took a 23-6 lead midway through the third quarter before the Jaguars finally started to wake up and do something, eventually getting it down to 3 points, 23-20 with 2 minutes left, but they would never get the ball back down 3 because the Texans punched the victory in with Joe Mixon to win the game 23-21. I don't really know what else to say. Washington versus the Tits. Washington jumped up early in this one and never let go, bouncing out to a 28-0 lead at some point, which is actually not what we expect from the Titans. Usually they make it a game for the first quarter or 2 quarters, and then they let go of the rope. So this was a nice change in fortune for once. They even ripped off 13 straight points to make it somewhat competitive, but we all know it was just a fake. The fourth quarter was nothing but garbage time stat padding before Will Levis and Jane Daniels hugged to end racism at the very end of the game. At least that came out of this game, because there was nothing else really worthy about it. LA Rams versus the Saints. In a game between Derek Carr and Derek Carr with a Super Bowl ring, it was Derek Carr with a Super Bowl ring that eventually won out. Barely. Although he did have some nice throws, and it was a pretty boring game until the fourth quarter when the team started to show some spark. The Saints eventually tied the game at 14, but Matthew Stafford, as he does against shitty teams for his entire career, makes a go-ahead game-winning drive to put the Rams back up, and then Derek Carr hilariously fell short because Derek Carr Carr, as I've been told, is a tremendous loser, which is what we saw here again as the Saints lost 21-14. The Riz, Darren Rizzi, has been defeated as a head coach for the first time. Philadelphia versus Baltimore. Both of these teams came in feeling pretty well about themselves, and the Ravens jumped out nearly 9-0 lead. But Justin Tucker, there were already signs that it was time to put him down, but seriously, they might actually put him down on the field at this rate because he's missing kicks all over the place. After being down 9-0 early, the Eagles did not blink, and Justin Tucker just kept on missing field goals. It would be sad if he wasn't playing against my favorite team. Eventually, the MVP candidate, or MVP frontrunner, or however you want to say it, Saquon Barkley, put a touchdown on the board to give the Eagles a 9-point lead with 6 minutes left. Then the Ravens turned the ball over on downs. The Eagles kicked a field goal for good measure, and then Lamar Jackson did some amazing stat padding to make him look a little less liable for another disappointing Ravens defeat in a big game. Make no mistake about it, folks. The Ravens, they still are a little rocky in big games against good opponents, but my Eagles, we're winning the fucking Super Bowl. Prepare your butts. Tampa Bay versus Carolina. Oh, a nice catch by Mike Evans. And oh, there's a field goal. And oh, there's a missed field goal. Here's a touchdown run by Bryce Young. You're tall enough to ride this ride. Get it? Because he's short. Anyway, Titans made it 10-10. Panthers missed another field goal. This kicker should feel really bad about himself. And then Baker Mayfield threw an interception, which led to barely another field goal to give the Panthers a halftime lead. Then Baker Mayfield said, I'm going to throw an interception, which led to another field goal to give the Panthers a 6-point lead entering the fourth quarter, before the Buccaneers took the lead back on a touchdown run, 17-16, and extended that to 4 points with a 20-16 on a field goal. Then, with under a minute left, Bryce Young actually made some nice plays, finding hardworking Adam Thielen for a touchdown to go up by 3 with 30 seconds left, but Baker Mayfield did not blink. He led them down the field to set up a field goal to send it into overtime, and then once in overtime, the Buccaneers missed a field goal, but then the Panthers, in Buccaneers territory, looking like they were going to win, fumbled the ball away, which then led Baker to get the ball back into the field goal range for the Buccaneers, which led to the Buccaneers kicking their easy game-winning field goal to escape with a 26-23 win and keep my undefeated week alive. You got all that? Good. Buffalo versus San Francisco. Cocaine! I love cocaine! Everybody, we all love cocaine, don't we? Well, they played on this field of cocaine as an honor to Len Bias. Josh Allen was pumped up after the news that he proposed to Haley Steinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld's daughter, actually. Put the Bills up 21-3, and then this pussy missed the field goal short. That's so unmanly. The 49ers finally scored. Oh, no, they didn't score. They fumbled the ball away. It was returned, and then the Bills went up by that dreadful score, 28-3. Josh Allen scored a touchdown off of his own pass when he was lateral back to himself by Amari Cooper. That's just hilarious. The 49ers looked like they didn't even want to be there. They scored a touchdown to make it 28-10, but at that point, it was just cosmetic. Josh Allen ran another score in. The 49ers kept fumbling. Christian McCaffrey is lost for the season. We're losing daughter daters everywhere, folks. The Bills, with 5 games left to play, have already clinched the AFC East. Why couldn't they have been this good when Brady was there? Why? Denver versus Cleveland. The game began with a missed field goal. Shame on that kicker. But the Broncos went up with a touchdown. Jameis Winston fought back with another touchdown of his own to make it 7-7. Then Bo Nix threw an interception off of a person's helmet, which is hilarious, which led to another Browns field goal. But the Broncos answered back with another touchdown of their own on a tough, gritty touchdown run by their fullback. You know, I think Jameis has really matured past throwing interceptions and pick sixes. Oh, wait, never mind. Nope, he's still the same jackass as before. But then he turns right around and he throws a touchdown pass to David Njoku just before halftime. Coming out of halftime, Bo Nix responded with a 93-yard touchdown to put the Broncos back up by 11. But then Jameis responded by throwing to former Bronco Jerry Jeudy, who now has as many 200-yard receiving games in his career as Randy Moss. And no, that's not a joke. The game was back and forth. The Broncos kicked a field goal to take a 6-point lead into the fourth quarter. The Broncos got the ball back, but then Bo Nix threw an interception while throwing the ball deep. That's okay. It's a manly interception. And then Jameis responded with a touchdown pass to Nick Chubb to make it 32-31. But then the Broncos didn't blink as they kicked a field goal to go up by 2 with about 3 minutes left. Driving the team down the field, Jameis Winston was in position to win the game, and he ended up throwing another pick six, his second of the game. And then just for shits and giggles, he threw another interception to officially seal the game afterwards to drop the Browns to 3-9 and increase the Broncos to 8-5. Some of you may care, most of you probably won't, but I went a perfect 16-0 on my picks this week for my weekly predictions. I would just like to thank myself for being amazing enough to correctly predict every single game that happened this week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Subscribe.